What's going on, everybody? It's Carmine from Barmine Tech, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're actually going to be looking at what's the best Linux distro of 2024. So, I'm a Windows power user. I use Windows every day and on all my machines, but I'm always interested in getting a Linux machine. I mean, like I use Ubuntu server and stuff, but I was always thinking about daily driving a Linux machine, so I was looking at, what's the best distro or this and that, and I think today what we're going to do is we're going to look for the best distro. So I've taken some sources online and I've made up a list of the best distros for 2024, and we're going to randomly select one and we're going to see what we think about it. So I've already set up the wheel, so we're going to go over there and spin that now, and then we're going to go from there. So if you're interested, over here is the list of the OSs that I found on the list of the top distros of 2024. I omitted some of them like Open Media Vault or OpenWRT or OpenSense, stuff like that, because I'm not going to be working with those as a router. I want stuff that's actually going to work as like our workstation machine. There's some of these on here that I haven't heard of before, like Nitrix or Zorin, Porteous, stuff like that I haven't heard of before. I put the Raspberry Pi OS because it was on here and it does have a desktop. If we get that one, then I guess we'll work with that and make a machine with it, but these are the list of what we're going to be working with, and we're going to spin it and we're going to see what we get. So let's see. ZorinOS, it looks like. So I've really never worked with this, but let's go see some information on it. Okay, so I came over to the site, and this was the original article. Well, this was the link off the article. This was the original article I used for the distros. It was just the first hit on Google when I searched up top distros of 2024. And ZorinOS was on here as one of the last ones. And over here, it has the reason to avoid is there's no ISO image. I didn't realize that because I didn't look through all the descriptions. And looking at their site, it looks like actually installing this one is going to be quite difficult. So I think we're going to look for another distro to look at, because this one looks like it's going to be not the best distro of 2024 if it's this complex to install. So I'm going to move over. I'm going to take this out of the list. We're going to spin this again. Alright, so we got ZorinOS this time. So let's go take a look at this one. I'll have a link to this article before in the description, so if anybody's interested, you can check it out as well. Here you go. So Zorin. So this is actually described as the best Linux distro for Windows users, which is nice because, like I said, I'm a Windows power user, and most people are. Looks like it's pretty good. Looks like it might just be a little harder to run on older computers. I'm guessing it's probably pretty graphical, since it's Windows-like. Looking at some of the images they have, it looks pretty much the same as Windows, how it's built out. Looks like it could be pretty nice, so I think we're going to get started with this. I'm going to download the ISO. I'm going to come over here and download the ISO. Looks like they have a Pro version, which is kind of interesting since all Linux distros for the most part are free except Red Hat. We're going to come over here and they have a core version and an education version. We're just going to get the core because we're just using basic use. I just want to skip and download. So I'm going to download this and then we're going to get it set up in Proxmox. So before we move forward on actually like going through and rating how we think this distro would be, I just want to point out a couple things that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be building these out as a VM in Proxmox. So I'm not going to be installing this on a physical machine like a laptop or anything else. I'm going to be making a VM in Proxmox because that's what I have to work with. Secondly, I'm going to be basing my rating of the OS based off how easy it is to set up, how easy it is to use, and how user-friendly it is. I feel like any operating system, that's how anything should be judged. If it's really difficult to set up, then it's not really friendly. If it's not really easy to use the UI or anything else, then it's probably not the best distro. And if it's not user-friendly, it's kind of tricky. I know it's kind of a trade-off because Linux is mixed on that, but we want something that's going to be in between. So these are the points I'm going to use to rate this OS that I feel. One thing I do want to check before we keep going on with the setup is I want to see the requirements for this. So it looks like the minimum requirements are a 1 gigahertz dual core CPU, whether it's Intel or AMD. Get a 1.5 GB of memory, and then about 15 gigs of storage. So pretty straightforward. I'm going to be able to give this pretty easily, and most people I think will be able to, whether you're virtualizing or putting this on a regular machine. So let's move into Proxmox and set this up. I'm going to be working on my mini lab server. So the first thing I'm going to do is come into, there we go. I have to put the ISO on, so I'm going to upload the ISO image. And we're going to do this real quick. I'm going to come into my ISOs, and we're looking for Zorin. I'm going to upload this, and then we'll be right back. Alright, my ISO's uploaded. I know I could have just downloaded from URL, I didn't think of that originally. But we're all set, so then we come over here, we're going to make a new VM. I'm going to call it Zorin. Click next. Type that right? Yeah, I did. Click next. We're going to pick out the ISO. It's Linux, so we're going to leave it like that. I'm going to leave these defaults. I'm going to come over here and yeah, we'll put this on the main, and I'll give it, I think it only needed 15, so I'm going to give it 30 just to be safe. Click next again. I'll give it 2 cores. Maybe I'll give it 4. I'm going to give it 4 cores, why not? We're going to give it a good test, I want to be fair. It needed a gig and a half, so I think what we'll do is we'll give it, I'll give it 4, just to be safe. I can always add more if I need. So we'll go there, that looks all good. That looks good, so now we should be able to set it up. So I'm going to come over to, here it is, and it'll be coming up in a minute. Then we'll start it up, and then when I start getting into the setup, we'll pick it back up. Okay, so here is the boot menu. So I do want to do install. So I'm going to do that. Oh, looks like my console's having an issue, so let's do this. Alright, looks like it's automatically booting up, so we're good. It's going to start the boot process, so I'm just going to let this work, and then we'll go from there. I'm guessing if it's similar to Windows, it's going to be a pretty simple setup. Hopefully it won't be too quick, and we'll go from there. So I'll be back when we have something to show. So it looks like it did load up into like the try, so I'm going to install it just because I want to give it a fair shot. I'm going to click install, and we're going to go through here. That looks good. I'm going to give it so it downloads the third-party stuff. I don't want to send my anonymous reports, so that's fine. And we do want to do updates, so I'm going to click continue. So if you notice over there, we just said it was preparing the Ubuntu driver, so I'm guessing it's probably based off of some sort of Ubuntu distro. So let's see, it has no detected operating systems. What would you like to do? Yeah, we'll erase the disk, we'll wipe everything out and go from there. So we'll click install. Yep, we're going to write the changes. That looks about right. Alright, so we'll give it my name. Let's name it Zorin. Okay, we'll do Zorin PC, that works. Do my password. We'll do login automatically. I'm not too worried if it has to use a password, so we'll click continue. And now it's going to go through the install, so we'll give it some time and we'll be back. Okay, so the installation took maybe about 10 minutes or so. It's not too bad. And just need to restart it to, I guess, finish applying the install. So I'm just going to restart the machine. And we'll be right back into it. I do like the little loading screen. It before had like the Zorin logo, which was cool. Alright, so let me go over and just check to make sure about this. Okay, so I did want to just double check the boot order and make sure there was nothing funny about it, so that looks okay. So I'm just going to come back in here, click enter. We'll let this power cycle. Yeah, so over here, see, that was one of the cool like loading screens. It's just the little things that are intriguing. And here we are in our ZorinOS. So I never worked with this or heard of this before, so I am going to take a tour. So we have menus to open. We have the menu over here, like in Windows. Okay. We could change our appearance. Speed may be limited in a virtual machine, which makes sense. It depends on that, which is okay. There's integration to link up all your accounts. We're not going to be doing that. You can link your phone to it to get notifications and share files. That's okay. I'm going to pass on that too. and it looks like you could download a lot of the normal apps. I guess they have like a similar app store with different repos, and it looks good. Okay, so let's take a look and see what's going on. So it is nice that the time is set up right. I just want to see if I could change this so it's not in 24-hour time. Alright, so let's see what we have. Settings. So let's go over to... Alright, so there's going to be an update, so maybe we'll take care of the update just to make sure there's nothing going through. But let's just come over here. I want to change the time format because it makes it easier for me. So now we're good with that. Let's see, where is updates? I don't know if it's in settings or if it's in like their own thing. Software. I don't think it's in here, but I do want to see what's in the app store they have. So we're gonna make this full screen. Oh, look, there is updates. So here's all the different apps that I guess they have like in their app store. So it's pretty. It's nice to have some stuff in here. So let's see, they have some games. Fortunately, it is a little. There we go. It was a little slow, but I'm not gonna really knock that on the fact of I am running this in a VM. So yeah, RuneScape. Let's see. I'm not really gonna go too crazy with games because it's not something I'm gonna be doing. So let's see what else. What do we have for work? Alright, so some of these are starting to load up. So we do have some of the basic stuff. So we have Brave browser. I like to see it as my main browser. I'm gonna say that the ones that have check marks are the ones that are already installed. So it has gedit, you see logs, characters. So it has a calculator, contacts. There's some open source stuff. So we have a 4-pane file manager. There's a hex editor, which is nice if you are working with binary or something like that, or doing programming. We have Adobe Reader. We have a bunch of different stuff. We have some sort of virtual assistant. So there's a bunch of different stuff in here. Looks like some sort of markdown editor. So it definitely does have support for a lot of different apps, and I'm gonna bet you could probably add different repos and download stuff if you need. Has a Bible editor if you're interested in editing a Bible, I guess. Has Beaver Notes, so you can just take a look through here if you're interested. So it does definitely have, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here. So you could definitely spend some time looking through here. I'm not gonna go too crazy looking at all of these because I do want to see some other stuff. I might look for a couple apps just to install them, and then just so we can see how they work out. So it has a version of Office. It's called Only Office Desktop Editors. I'm going to install this because I do want to see how it would work. I mean, something that I use daily pretty much on my computer is the text editors and stuff like that. So we're going to throw those on there. I also want to come back, and I'm going to go back again. I'm going to come over to updates, and I just want to make sure that everything's updated. So I'm going to check on updates, and then we'll come for it there. So it looks like my machine is all up to date. I mean, it is a fresh install, so I wonder, I guess it must have actually done the updates during the install. So it looks like Office is about to finish installing, and we have Firefox on this computer, so let's see how Firefox responds. So we'll go over to YouTube, and we'll check out the Barmine Tech channel. There we go, and Office just finished installing, so we'll take a look at that in a minute. So let's see how I know we're going through a VM, so it might be a little bit difficult, but let's see how it works if I have good, if there's any delay or anything. We have an ad, so we'll give this a second. So it looks pretty good. I don't have sound, and I'm going to guess there's no audio passer, so I'm not going to give it a try. But I have to say the web browsing looks to be pretty simple. Let's see if I go to like Yahoo. It's really responsive. I don't see a lot of issue, and if you remember, I only gave this 4 gigs of RAM, so it's not like I really went too crazy. I did give it 4 cores, but I don't really think that's the hugest impact. So let's just try some more web browsing and see if we have anything. Let's check out Reddit and just look through the homepage real quick. I mean, the scrolling is really smooth. It's not like anything crazy, so I do have to say this is pretty nice so far. I really like how friendly that this UI is. I mean, it really just feels like you're right on Windows. So let's come over here. Let's change. See over here. Oh, that's not what I want. Background. So we have some other options, kind of like this one. So we have some basic backgrounds that are added in. We could of course add our own images if we're interested. We have networking. We have all the basic settings, nothing too crazy. You can turn on, looks like RDP if you're interested. Usually I do, because I have to access it somehow. I don't really use a VNC viewer. So we have all the basic settings we could be looking for. Let's see maybe about working with the network shares. So come over to other, actually it picks up my NAS. So that's impressive. Usually my NAS doesn't get picked up right away by the, there we go. Yeah, look at that. So this is my main NAS that actually runs my Plex server off it. So if we come over here, we could see it. We have my Plex server, but that's okay. One thing I've noticed when I work with a new Linux distro, usually to get over to one of my NASs or any of my file shares is usually pretty difficult. It just like doesn't see it by default, so to see one that's already picking up my NAS is pretty cool. This is Windows Network, but I'm not really sure what that is. And then there's other locations that I could add. So if I wonder if I have to whack to it. And over here I was able to actually get over to my other NAS that runs my file storage. So pretty easy actually, and it just connected right over SMB. So this is actually really nice to see, because like I said, in the past I've tried to work with a file system. For all my main files I keep them on NAS, and then I usually just go over to them over the network to work with it, whether it's my schoolwork or anything else. I usually keep them centralized so it's not stuck on one machine. So usually my issue on Linux machines is getting the NAS or whatever I'm using to actually connect. So it's nice to see that on this distro it actually connected 1, 2, 3 and it wasn't an issue. So I really do like that feature. This video is starting to get a little bit longer, so I do want to try to keep this going. I'm going to check out the Office tools that we installed before. So it actually by default has the LibreOffice package, which is probably going to be the better option. So I'm probably going to skip using the one I installed. I'm going to go check out LibreOffice. So we do have LibreWriter. LibreOffice has all the default tools that you might need, and if you look at it, it's pretty similar to using like the Microsoft packages if you're interested. So I am using a VM, and it is pretty smooth. So you just over here, it is cool. It has all the basic stuff, and its response time is pretty good. So we'll just close out of this really quick. But yeah, I think this is actually a really cool OS so far. Like I said, I'm just using the basics of it. I haven't really gone too crazy, but from what I could see, it's really nice. Like, it's not tricky to use. Like, I have no prior knowledge of this OS. This was the first time I've ever heard of it, and to be able to get new packages and everything else seems to be really simple compared to some of the other Linux distros that I've seen before. So it is cool to see how simple it is. I could just go to this app store and it has probably everything we could want on here. Okay, so I think that really covers the basics of ZorinOS. I hope I'm saying it right. I hope it's not like some funny pronunciation of it, but I know that it's designed to be a similar Windows OS and work similarly to it and like look like it, and it does. I mean, it has the taskbar, it has the start menu just like how it does on Windows 10 and all the earlier OSs. It operates just like Windows, whether you're in the File Explorer or the browsers or anything else. The one thing that's different, because it is Linux, is it has like an app store. I guess that's similar to how Microsoft has it too, because they do have the app stores on 10 and newer. But the older OSs didn't have like an app store on there. You had to just install packages. If I had to compare the two OSs, they're very similar. I mean, they're almost identical really, and I do have to say it was a really friendly OS. I just did the quick tour. It shows you how to click through a couple things, and I was able to pretty much figure all this stuff out, whether it was mapping file shares or, you know, going through to add packages and change settings and stuff. I mean, it lines up pretty similar to Windows. So if you are a Windows power user, you're probably going to feel pretty comfortable on ZorinOS. Like I said, I don't want to drag this video on, so I'm just going to knock through the ratings really quick. So the install was really simple. It took me about 10 minutes, and all I had to do was fill in like my account information and what I wanted to name the PC. Other than that, the installer did all the work for me. It's unlike in some of the Windows installs, I didn't have to really like add drivers or anything else. It pulled all that automatically for me. on the actual UI, it's really nice, honestly. Like it's very smooth and functional, and it really does feel just like a Windows PC. So I'm gonna rate that pretty highly too. I've worked with some other OSs in the past, like Pop OS, Manjaro, and some of the other stuff, and they were just a little more confusing on navigating through, or even Ubuntu your first time. So coming over here and having something that's, I know it's designed to really be like Windows, so Windows users can just move straight into it. So I get why it's designed that way, but it works out really nicely because it really does line up well. I mean, it's not like there's a big difference between the two. Other than that, like the how user friendly it is, it is. I mean, it's Windows just on a Linux distro. It's really the best way I could put it. They give you a little tour in the beginning, telling you how to get through the start menu, some of the menus, how to install software, stuff like that. So I mean, it's friendly. It gives you all the steps, and even if you are just like a regular Windows user and you never use Linux, if you're comfortable with Windows, you could probably figure out the stuff on this Linux distro, ZorinOS, pretty easily. So like I said, I do like this OS. I actually might run it as a new daily driver machine. I don't know. I'm going to take a look. If you guys are interested in something like this, like, finding out new Linux distros in the future, comment below, and maybe we'll do this every once in a while just to see as new distros come out, or if there's something that becomes popular, we'll take a look at it. As always, I'll have links below to all my gear from Amazon links. I'll have a link to my Discord server so we can chat if you're running into any questions, where you're working on projects, or we're just going to chat about home lab stuff. Other than that, I want to thank everybody for watching, and I will see you in the next video.